Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to another video. Now this is a continuation of my top albums from 1965 to 1989, and I put a poll up and the winner was 1977. I can't remember what the other 2 years were. So 1977 it is, and what a great year for music. So it's going to be a top 30, and as normal I have got three bubbling unders, and they are the Damned's debut album Damn Damn Damn, especially with the track New Rose, which I absolutely love, and Neat Neat Neat, which is really good. Fan Club's a really good track as well, and they do a pretty good version of the Stooges, I Feel Alright. The second bubbling under is Donna Summer and I Remember Yesterday, and I especially like side one of that, where it goes through the years. So it starts off with I Remember Yesterday was like a 40s type song, then the 50s one with Love's Unkind, and then Back in Love Again is like a Supreme song from the 60s, and then it goes back to I Remember Yesterday. It was a bit of a waste really, because it's a reprise and it's over 2 minutes long. I would have liked another song. Side two's got a couple of disco numbers, a slow track, and then bang, I Feel Love, which represents the future. And the third bubbling under is the Ramones' Rocket to Russia, and it has got the big hit Sheena's Punk Rocker on it, along with Rockaway Beach, Teenage Lobotomy, Cretin Hop, or as we would say over here, Cretin Hop, Surfing Bird, Do You Wanna Dance, pretty good, but just failed to get in the top 30. Okay, number 30, and it is Dave Edmunds from 1977, and it's Get It. And this is essentially the first Rock Pile album, although Billy Bremner doesn't play on it. It has a hit single off it, I Knew the Bride, which is great. Where or When is another very good song. It's like a Beach Boys type song, but it's beautiful. He does a version of Graham Parker's Back to School Days, puts a real rockabilly vibe to it, which is excellent as well. Juju Man, which Brinsley Schwarz covered, is a cover version. I can't remember who wrote it though. It's the best version I know of it. Get It itself is very, very good. And Here Comes the Weekend was a fantastic little rockabilly number, which was the first single off this. So number 30 is Dave Edmunds and Get It, featuring Nick Lowe and Terry Williams of Rockpile. And number 29, and I'm actually giving it to Peter Gabriel. It's the first time he's featured in any of these, and it's his first album. This is the one with the absolutely brilliant Moribund the Burgermaster. You thought I was going to say something else there. It's my favourite track off it. I absolutely love it. Salisbury Hill is brilliant as well. That was the big hit single. Here Comes the Flood is the big epic on it. Modern Love was a single as well, and it's okay. It's a little bit generic for me. I do like the track Excuse Me, because it starts off for 45 seconds almost like a barbershop, a quartet, and then it goes into this sort of ragtime song, which I think is really, really good. Slow Burn is a bit of a rocker, humdrum, is very atmospheric. It's a very good album. The only track I don't like at all of it is Waiting for the Big One, which is about 7.5 minutes long, and it's very bluesy, but this is a very good debut album, and especially Moribund the Burgermaster, which I think could have sat on any of those mid-70s Genesis albums. So Peter Gabriel gets my number 29. And number 28, and this album is usually maligned by the fans, but I like it, and it's Leonard Cohen's Death of a Ladies Man. Now this is the one that is actually produced by Phil Spector, and you know, you don't, there are two names that you don't really tend to match up, Leonard Cohen and Phil Spector. But I think this is really good. I love the track True Love Leaves No Traces and Iodine. The first two, very good. Paper Thin Hotel is great, and then Memories is the real big production of Phil Spector, which could have come from the 60s, and with Leonard Cohen's voice, it works so well. There is a couple of dodgy ones off this, like Don't Go Home with Your Heart On. Imagine that for a title, good lord. You know, he's not very subtle, is he? It's not great, and Fingerprints is not great, but the title track Death of a Ladies Man is very, very good. I do like this album. It is completely on its own, sticks out in his catalogue. His voice after this got a heck of a lot deeper. It's a little more deep than the previous albums, but it really sunk after this one. I think it's a good album. I guess my number 28. Number 27 and number 26 are by the same artist. Number 27 is Iggy Pop's Lust for Life, and a lot of this is co-written with David Bowie. Some really good tracks on it, like Lust for Life, Some Weird Sin, The Passenger. Tonight I do like, but I prefer Bowie's own version of it. Success was the actual single at the time of this, which I think is good fun. Neighbourhood Threat, I'm not keen on this version. I prefer Bowie's version on Tonight. It's not brilliant either, but it's still better. And I do like the track 16, which is just an Iggy Pop track. Is no credit with anybody else. Fall in Love with Me and Turn Blue are tough listens, but still it's a good album. But I do slightly prefer number 26 is The Idiot, the first one of 77. This is a very dark and moody album. It's a very almost universal horror feel to it, especially the track Fun Time, which I think is brilliant. You also get Sister Midnight, which Bowie obviously did the music of it, Iggy Pop did the words, but Bowie then took the music and wrote a song called Red Money around it for his Lodger album in 79. I do prefer this version. Nightclubbing, which Grace Jones covered for her Nightclubbing album in 1980. Baby's not a bad track. And then you get China Girl, which obviously Bowie covered and had a huge hit with in 1983. Two completely different versions, so I'm not too sure which one I prefer. Side 2, like Lust for Life, has got a couple of tough ones to get into, Dum Dum Boys and Mass Production, but sandwiched in between is Tiny Girls, which is a nice song. This, as I say, is a very dark album. I think it's slightly underproduced as well, which adds to the feel of it, so The Idiot gets my number 26. And at number 25 we have The Stranglers and No More Heroes, and this is their second album from 77, and of course the title track is absolutely magnificent, as is the single Something Better Changed. My favourite track off this is Bitchin', and they played it live whenever I saw them. It must be about 4 years ago, just before the pandemic. Dagenham Dave's great track, Bring On the New Boys. I've always liked School Ma'am and English Towns. It's not a bad album, it's not as good as their first, but still it's good enough to get my number 25. And at number 24 we have Status Quo and Rockin' All Over the World. And this gets slated by fans as well due to the production by Pip Williams. I don't really see much wrong with it. But this has obviously the title track written by John Fogerty, which I think is a magnificent track. It's one of their top 5 singles. Can't Give You More is one of my favourite LP tracks of theirs, which was re-recorded for the Rock Till You Drop album in 1990 and released as a single. Let's Ride's pretty good, Baby Boy's pretty good. Dirty Water is one of those tracks you cannot help but sing along to. I think it's magnificent. And the one track I just don't like, which always gets played at concerts, is Hold You Back, which is almost like a precursor to Burning Bridges. It's got that diddly deep sort of keyboard sound to it. I'm not keen on it, but it's still a really good album, and that's my number 24. At number 23, and we have the Boomtown Rats and their debut album. And on here you have the 2 hit singles, Looking After Number 1, which for me is a punk classic, and Mary of the Fourth Form, which is excellent as well. But you also get great tracks like I Can Make It If You Can, which I think is really good. Never Bite the Hand That Feeds, Neon Heart. But for me, the highlight of the whole album is a track called Joey's on the Street Again, and it is so influenced by Bruce Springsteen. In fact, you could lift that song off this and put it on to the Wild and Innocent Knee Street Shuffle. It wouldn't feel as if it was out of place. And it's the sax and the keyboards and so forth, but it's a really good album. In fact, the first 3 Rats albums are very, very good. After that, they're sort of very, very patchy. So the Boomtown Rats gets my number 23. And at number 22 we have the Jam, This Is the Modern World. And it's probably one of the weakest Jam tracks, but it's still got some really good songs off it. Like the Modern World itself I think is great. Standards for me is a good bouncy mod classic. Light From a Window has got a bit of a psychedelic feel, and there's a bit of acoustic guitar in there as well, and it's something completely different. I think it's very good. The Combine I think is great, and it's the one that references Ina Sharples, which is rather cool. Side 2 you get I Need You for Someone, which is very Beatlesque. Here Comes the Weekend's good, Tonight at Noon's very acoustic, and a decent version of In the Midnight Hour. However, there's a few real clunkers off this. In the Street Today is a little short song, it's nothing at all. But the two Bruce Foxton songs, London Traffic and Don't Tell Them You're Seeing, are very poor for me anyway. Don't Tell Them You're Seeing tries to be good, but it's not, and London Traffic's just dreadful. But generally speaking, it is a good album, and it's my number 22. And my number 21 is Sparks and Introducing Sparks. And I think they called it this because the brand new label CBS in the UK. However, they were on Columbia in the US, and I think the previous one was also on Columbia, but I could be wrong. The single off this was a big surprise, and no big surprise, it failed to chart. But it is a good song, but there's no spark to it, pardon the pun, but it's still good. Over the Summer has got a very Beach Boys pastiche, it's really good. Ladies is great fun. Those Mysteries is an epic at the very end of the album. But my favourite track, and it's so funny, is Occupation. Absolutely brilliant, and I don't think it was a single. It may have been in some territories, but I think that could have brought them back into the charts because it's really, really catchy. But anyway, number 21, Sparks, Introducing Sparks. At number 20, and we have Talking Heads and Talking Heads 77. This is the one with Psycho Killer on it, but it's not the Psycho Killer most people know. Most people actually know the version from Stop Making Sense, but it's still a very good version. Oh Oh Love Comes to Town, really great opener. New Feeling, very good song as well. One of my favourite tracks off this is Pulled Up, which I think is the most new wavy of the lot. It's actually the most punky with the guitars and so forth. And I think they're really great vocals by David Byrne. You get Don't Worry About the Government, which has got a really nice mandolin feel to it, and No Compassion. What I like about that is the tempo change throughout the song. I think it's a really good album, and it gets my number 20. And at number 19 we have Elvis Costello and My Aim Is True, and I know a lot of people will have this a lot higher. I think it's a little bit overrated. I don't think it's as good as the next 2 or 3 albums, but it's still a good album. I've always loved the song Less Than Zero. I think it's a great track, and Allison's absolutely beautiful. It's the most famous one off this. The Angels Don't Want to Wear My Red Shoes, a really good single. I don't think it did anything in the chart. So Welcome to the Working Week is a decent enough opener. Miracle Man's a decent song as well. Pay It Back, I'm Not Angry. The US version has Watching the Detectives on it. I would have liked to be on this as well. I think it would have beefed it up a little bit more. But it's still a strong album, produced by Nick Lowe, and it gets my number 19. And at number 18, and I think people will think this is too low, and it's the debut album by The Clash. Now, the thing about this album, this has got some absolutely brilliant tracks on it, but I do think there is a little bit of filler on this as well. For me, the standouts are Ginny Jones, Remote Control, Career Opportunities, White Riot, Hate and War, Garageland and London's Burning. Those are brilliant. And I suppose Police and Thieves as well. But things like Cheap, Protect Blue and 48 Hours, they're decent enough, but you know, they're not the same standard as the rest of those songs. And What's My Name, I just never liked. Deny's pretty good actually, and I'm So Bored with the USA is pretty good. But it would be probably my 3rd favourite Clash album behind London Calling and Give 'Em Enough Rope. But it's still a good album against number 18. At number 17, and we have The Jam and In the City, and this is their debut album, and I think this is great. It opens brilliantly with Art School, and then going into the Motowny I've Changed My Address. A brilliant version of Slow Down. It knocks the Beatles version into touch for me. And then I Got By in Time, which is my favourite track off this, and to me, I've always said this, that could have been sung by the Supremes and they would have got away with it. I think it's great. Away From the Numbers is the big classic of this, although I think the cymbals are too loud in it. That's the only thing that puts that that song down for me. And then the Batman theme is Pointless. In the City, brilliant track, first single, and got top 40. Sounds from the Streets got a very Who sound about it, which is good. Non-Stop Dancing, yeah, good. Time for Truth is maybe one of the weaker ones, but I still do like it. And Taking My Love is a little rock and roll type thing. Finishing off with Bricks and Mortar. It's a very good, underrated debut album by The Jam, and it gets my number 17. At number 16, and it's the second album by the Ramones, Leave Home. Now I don't have it, although I do have it. It's the same when I did this 1976 rundown. This is a double album called All the Stuff and More, and basically it's the first two albums, so I never needed to buy them individually. I think this is better than Rocket to Russia, and this has got fantastic tracks on it, like Glad to See You Go, which is great. Gimme Gimme Shock Treatment, great. Oh, I Love Her So, which I absolutely love. I love that lyric, I met her at the Burger King, fell in love by the soda machine. I just think it's fantastic. Swallow My Pride, another brilliant track. California Sun, I know it's a cover version, but it is great as well. What's Your Game, Pinhead, all great songs, but the highlight for me off this album is Susie as a Headbanger. I absolutely love it. Incidentally, this here version adds Sheen as a punk rocker, a slightly different version to the one on Rocket from Russia, but I don't think it was actually on the original album. So the Ramones, Leave Home, gets my number 16. At number 15, and we have Bob Marley and the Wailers and Exodus, and this is almost like a greatest hits. Natural Mystic opens it, absolutely brilliant. You also get Jammin', fantastic. Exodus itself is great. Waiting in Vain, another hit single. One Love, People Get Ready, which was a big hit in 1984. Three Little Birds, which is so catchy. Really, really good Bob Marley album, and most people look at this as his best. It's between this and Kaya for me, I'm not sure, but good enough to get my number 15. Now at number 14 in a band I haven't shown in any of these lists yet, and it is actually Fox, and it's Blue Hotel. Now they had 3 albums, this is their 3rd album, and this actually wins over the other 2 for me, mostly because all the songs are actually sung by Nuesha Fox, and that seductive, gorgeous, quirky voice, I absolutely love it. It really draws you in. Yeah, the big hit off this is Sis Is a Single Bed. Now I wasn't actually stuttering there, it is that called Sis Is a Single Bed, but the title track is absolutely magnificent, and it's got a really good, almost Gary Moore's Parisian Walkways type guitar in it, which is excellent. Living Out My Fantasies is a really good pop song, especially with Nuesha's voice. One track I really love is Friendship Rose, which is so damn catchy. My Old Man's Away, I think is very good as well. Mustaches on the Moon, a really good, it's an odd album in a way because her voice is completely different. I don't know who to actually compare her voice with. Maybe Lena Lovitch a little bit, but not quite either. But yeah, it's a really strong album, and I really do like those 3 Fox albums, especially this one, because as I say, she takes lead vocals on them, all the songs, rather than sort of sharing them about with some of the band members. So Fox, Blue Hotel gets my number 14. Number 13, and we have Slade, Whatever Happened to Slade. This failed to chart. This is their hard rock album, well, their first hard rock album, and opens up with B, really, really good track. The hit single, well, minor hit single off this is Gypsy Roadhog, which is in my top 10, possibly 12 Slade singles of all time. Dead Men Tell No Tales, I think could have been a single. It Ain't Love But It Ain't Bad is my favourite track off this. It's very bass heavy, but it's absolutely great rocker with Noddy's vocals are brilliant on it. One Eyed Jacks with Moustaches, Dogs of Vengeance, and The Soul, The Roll and The Motion. This is not Slade at their catchiest, however this is Slade at their rockiest, and once you get used to these songs, because on first listen I didn't like this and took quite a few listens, but it is a really strong album. You know, it really does grow on you, and that gets my number 13. At number 12, and we have T-Rex and Dandy in the Underworld, and this is Mark's last album. Dandy in the Underworld, there was a single version of that. It's not the same that's on the LP. Was released, didn't chart. The Soul of My Suit is actually his last charting song in his lifetime. I think it got to number 42, and to bump up the sales, really, they put on I Love to Boogie from the previous year, and it actually does fit. But Crimson Moon, really catchy. Universe is one of his better later songs, as is I'm a Fool for You Girl. But I think the highlight of this is the very last track, Teen Riot Structure, which I think is really good, and it is one of the most new wavy type songs that he has done. Now, a lot of people were saying this is his comeback. It did quite well. It got top 30 for about 2 weeks, and then it just fell out of the charts completely. But I don't think this sounds like new wave. I don't think it sounds like punk. It sounds like T-Rex polished up a little bit, but it's still a really strong album. Not my favourite, but still very strong. And at number 11, I have Billy Joel and The Stranger, and this could have been a perfect album if they'd got rid of the last 2 songs. Well, Get It Right the first time's okay, but Everybody Has a Dream is dreadful, absolutely dreadful. But you get Moving Out, Anthony's song, brilliant. The Stranger's a really good track, Just the Way You Are. It's a bit sappy, but I really do like it. And then Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is probably his best ever track. Only the Good Die Young is really good fun. Vienna is a nice song as well. And She's Always a Woman, which I do like. I know a lot of people think it's very sexist, but I don't. But The Stranger, possibly his best ever album, but I don't like the last track, Everybody Has a Dream, but it still gets my number 11. And going into the top 10, we have Queen and New to the World, and this is the one with We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. You get the brilliant Sheer Heart Attack by Roger Taylor, which is how the guitars are so heavy, it's almost like a punk song. Get Down, Make Love, I think is a really good track, and it's one of Freddie's. It's an odd one, and it goes in various different directions, but it's one I didn't like at the start either, but I really got to enjoy it. And I do like the 2 John songs, Spread Your Wings and Who Needs You. Brian May's It's Late is very good, and All Dead is a nice little track, but I cannot stand Sleeping on the Sidewalk. It's like a bluesy number and it's dreadful. But my favourite track off this is the very last one, My Melancholy Blues, which I think is sung beautifully by Freddie, and it's an absolutely gorgeous ballad, and so Use the World gets my number 10. At number 9, and we have Pink Floyd and Animals. Very few songs off this. I do like the little acoustic Pigs on a Wing one, and then Dogs takes up the rest of side 1, which I think is the best song off this, although I do think it is too long. I would have preferred it being cut by about 8 minutes and another song written and put in, but still I absolutely love the guitar refrain by David Gilmour, absolutely gorgeous. Then you get Pigs, 3 different ones, which is fine, and then Sheep, another great one with fantastic guitar work, finishing off with Pigs on the Wing 2. There are not very many songs off it, but it's a really nice listen, especially Dogs. I think it's a fantastic song. So Pink Floyd gets my number 9. And at number 8, and we have Meat Loaf and Bat Out of Hell. Absolutely brilliant album. Is it overplayed? Probably is, but absolutely love it. Bat Out of Hell itself, excellent. Now the single version of this is really butchered, and it just doesn't work. You have to hear the whole thing. You took the words right out of my mouth. Absolutely love it. Even the corny on a hot summer's night, I always loved it. And in fact, I don't like it without that. Heaven Can Wait's my least favourite. All Wrapped Up With No Place to Go. Very, very catchy. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Beautiful love song. Then you get Paradise by the Dashboard Light. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. And it goes in all directions. And then you finish with the epic For Crying Out Loud. Now this sold by the bucket load for a reason. It's that good, and it gets my number 8. At number 7, and we have the Sex Pistols and Nevermind the Bollocks. 4 fantastic singles off this: God Save the Queen, Pretty Vacant, Anarchy in the UK, and Holidays in the Sun. But other fantastic tracks like EMI, absolutely love it. I love Bodies as well, even though the lyrics are actually quite shocking, really. Problems, Liar, No Feelings, really good tracks. Second favourite punk album for me, and so that gets my number 7. I'll say no more. And number 6, and I have ABBA the album, released in December 77, although I don't think it was available in the UK until 78. But 2 number 1 hit singles with The Name of the Game and Take a Chance on Me. Eagle, one of their best ever tracks, brilliant, as is Thank You for the Music, absolutely love it. I do like Move On, I think it's a beautiful song, but I'm not keen on Bjorn's spoken bit at the start. I wish they would have taken that out and replaced it with the girls' vocals, which they actually did whenever they recorded the Spanish version, Al Andar, so you don't hear Bjorn in that. One Man, One Woman, never that keen on. I Wonder Departure, it shows the way that Bjorn and Benny were going to really go in the 80s with the stage musicals. And I'm a Marionette is not great, but overall, when this is good, this is absolutely excellent, and there's just a couple of weak tracks on it, but still number 6 for me. And number 5, and we have David Bowie and Low, and side 1 is half songs, half accessible little instrumentals. Side 2 is ambient. Sound and Vision, the hit single, brilliant, absolutely one of his best. Be My Wife is a good single as well, although it failed to chart. I would have thought What in the World would have been a better choice. Breaking Glass is less than 2 minutes long, but I love it. Speed of Life, the instrumental opener, fantastic way to open an album. And Always Crashing in the Same Car, I think, is a really good Bowie LP track. Side 2 has got all the ambient stuff. Warszawa, I think, is great, and Art Decade, very good as well. The only one I'm not keen on is Weeping Wall, and Subterraneans is, I think it actually featured in part of The Man Who Fell to Earth. I'm not sure, I think, or it was supposed to feature one or the other, but yeah, iconic album by Bowie, and it's a complete difference to what he was doing previously with Station to Station and Young Americans. So Low gets my number 5, and my number 4, and edging it, is Heroes, and this is the one with Heroes now, is probably his most iconic track. This follows more or less the same format as the Low album. However, on side 2 I do prefer the actual instrumentals with V2 Schneider. I think it's a nod obviously to Kraftwerk. Sense of Doubt is the most minimalist track you'll ever hear. Hated it for years, but absolutely adore it now. It's got a real funeral dirge to it, but I love it. Moss Garden and Nukone I think are excellent as well. Moss Garden's got a very oriental feel, and the sax on Nukone is beautiful, and then it finishes with what I think should have been the second single, and that's The Secret Life of Arabia, which is a vocal track, and it could have been a dance floor classic. Side 1, the songs are good, but I do prefer the songs on Low, apart from Heroes. Beauty and the Beast is fine. Joe the Lion, possibly the weakest. Then you get Heroes, which is just classic. Sons of the Silent Age I think is really good as well, especially the chorus vocals. And Blackout is totally frantic and in your face. I think this is slightly better to Low. For years it was the other way around for me, but I've really come round to Heroes, and it gets my number 4. And at number 3 we have The Stranglers and Rattus Norvegicus. Yeah, this is the one with Peaches on it, and the first single, Get a Grip in Yourself. Sometimes opens this. Keyboards galore, brilliant. Goodbye Toulouse, possibly my all-time favourite Stranglers song. Then the most punk song of the lot, London Lady, and that bass run by J.J. Burnell, fantastic. Princes of the Streets is very bluesy, but I really do like it. I'm not a blues fan. And then Hanging Around is one of their all-time classics. On side 2, the weakest track is Ugly, and then you get Down in the Sewer, which is an absolute epic track. I'm not too sure how long it is, about 6.5, 7 minutes long possibly, and it goes in all directions, and the keyboards are the highlight of that track. Really good. I love this. This is my favourite so-called punk album ever, and it's my number 3. Number 2, and one of the biggest selling albums ever, I have to give it to Fleetwood Mac, Rumours. Yeah, what can I say about this? I'm a huge Lindsey Buckingham fan, really am, and I love his tracks. Secondhand News, the beautiful little Never Going Back Again, which is fantastic, and Go Your Own Way. And Stevie's songs are really good as well, with Dreams, which I think was a #1 hit in the States, Gold Dust Woman, which is very moody and atmospheric, and then the little country type, I Don't Want to Know. And then don't forget about Christine, she's on fire here as well, with Songbird, absolutely beautiful. Don't Stop is catchy as hell, and I really like You Make Loving Fun. The only track I don't really like off this is Oh Daddy, the Christine song, but apart from this, this is nearly next to perfect. So Fleetwood Mac Rumours gets my number 2. And my #1 album from 1977 is the Electric Light Orchestra and Out of the Blue. Now there's 4 huge singles off this. This is a double album. Turn to Stone, Sweet Talking Woman, Mr. Blue Sky. I never get fed up with that, and it always puts me in a good mood. And Wild West Hero, which is very underrated. It's almost like a cowboy tune. But there's so many other tracks off here that would have done so well. Like Night in the City for me could have been a huge hit. Sweet as the Night is absolutely gorgeous, and I like the dual vocals of Jeff Lynne and Kelly Crockett. And Jungle, which is absolutely great fun, it just makes you happy listening to it. And then side 3 of this is just perfect. Standing in the Rain, the beautiful Big Wheels, the catchy Summer and Lightning, and the very uplifting Mr. Blue Sky. There's nothing bad off this. My least favourite is actually Birmingham Blues. I think it's a decent enough song, I just don't think it fits on the album. Stepping Out is another brilliant ballad, and Across the Border I think could have been a single, and I think it was going to be for an EP whenever they released 4 Light Years, you know, the way they did 3 Light Years and they re-released Can't Get It Out of My Head. I think it was scheduled to be the lead off for the single for the 4 Light Years, which was Out of the Blue, Discovery and New World Record. But anyway, Out of the Blue, best album of 1977 and one of the best double albums ever. Okay, so that's my rundown of my top albums from 1977. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll put another poll up with 3 more years for you to choose. Okay, that's me for now. All the best. Bye bye.